Hello and welcome to Planet Pulse on Firstpost. The Earth is constantly changing, and in recent years, for the worse. Summers are getting hotter and winters harsher. Rising sea levels, floods, drought, wildfires and torrential rain have been disrupting lives across continents. The fight against climate change is needed now more than ever. On this show, we bring you all the top stories on the climate crisis, its causes, its brutal effects, and the warriors helping fight the menace. We begin with Argentina. A fast-moving wildfire swept through the south in the heart of Patagonia. Flames tore through forests, forcing evacuations and pushing small communities to the edge. Firefighters fought the blaze, but so did neighbors, with hoses, buckets and no safety net. It was a test of how much a community can carry when the fire moves faster than the state. Early estimates put the damage at nearly 12,000 hectares, but even that number kept rising. Tourist towns turned into evacuation zones, smoke turned day into night, and for many residents, this felt uncomfortably familiar. Because just 1 year ago, Patagonia saw its worst fires in decades, and this week it was burning again. Here's a report on what unfolded.
Fire swept across southern Argentina. For days, wildfires raged through the Patagonian province of Chubut. By the weekend, authorities said nearly 12,000 hectares had burned. Native forests, planted pines, scrubland, all turned to ash. But environmental groups warned the true damage could be far greater. Greenpeace Argentina later estimated up to 52,000 acres may have burned so far. Officials say the fire broke out in the Andes region. A place known for lakes, mountains, and trekking trails. But this time, tourism gave way to evacuation. More than 3,000 tourists were reportedly forced to leave Puerto Patriada. Families near the town of Epuyén were moved out as flames closed in. Reports say at least 10 homes were destroyed. Firefighting teams were deployed at full scale. The government said nearly 300 firefighters were on the ground. They were supported by helicopters, air tankers, and military logistics. But conditions worked against them. Strong winds shifted direction. Dry vegetation caught fire quickly, and smoke reduced visibility. In some areas, the fire jumped roads, putting entire neighborhoods at risk.
This moment, the fire extended from the mountain and crossed Route 40, putting Coihue in danger. Are homes in danger? Yes, in the Coihue area, but we understand people have already been evacuated.
As professional crews fought the largest fire fronts, residents stepped in where they could. Neighbors hauled water, watched for spot fires, and even helped protect homes. They say it was not because they wanted to, but because they felt they had to.
My feeling is that we, the neighbors, are doing a lot through our own will. Families are buying water tanks, helping refill them, assisting homes. There's a lot of spontaneous organization. The government does too little, and this is too big. People will have to take charge of this, because it's the people who are saving the situation.
Volunteer teams became critical. Men and women with basic gear, limited resources, and no pay, working long hours in dangerous conditions.
We've had very intense days. Our colleagues are assisting neighbours affected by the fire, and now they're cooling down hotspots that are reigniting with the wind.
By early this week, the national government said more than 500 firefighters had been deployed across Chubut. Officials said 22 of 32 active fire fronts had been extinguished. Light rainfall brought partial relief. But authorities warned the situation remained delicate. The governor of Chubut said one of the largest fires may have been deliberately set. Prosecutors said evidence suggested an intentional origin, including fuel residue found near a primary access route. The claim was still under investigation, and a cash reward was announced for information. The national government publicly pointed to Mapuche groups as possible perpetrators, but judicial authorities in Chubut rejected that claim, citing a lack of evidence. This was not an isolated event. Fires were also active in Neuquén. Rio Negro and Santa Cruz said their fires were contained, but remained under emergency status. The National Fire Management Service issued red alerts across 8 provinces. Scientists say wildfires are common during December to February. High temperatures, strong winds, and severe drought all contribute to the disaster. But they also say the conditions are getting more extreme. The governor of Chubut said this was the worst drought since 1965. And critics pointed to another factor. The fires came just 1 month after President Javier Milei rolled back land and forest laws, removing restrictions on changing land use after fires. A move the government said would boost production. But critics warn it could create dangerous incentives. And as fires grow more intense, scientists say climate change is making them harder to contain. 1 year after Patagonia's worst fires in decades, the region is up in flames again. Communities were exhausted. Firefighters were stretched. And the question grew louder. If this is becoming the new normal, how much longer can people hold the line?
And now on to our next story. 2026 begins with a bad news. The Himalayas are in serious trouble as the mountain is losing its winter armor. Usually, at this time of year, these towering peaks should be wrapped in thick white snow. Instead, vast stretches now lie bare, rocky and exposed. A snow drought is tightening its grip even as North India shivers at 3 degrees Celsius. And in the empty mountains, The sheet of white snow is vanishing into thin air. What's missing in the mountains today could decide the fate of millions downstream tomorrow. In our next report, we bring you the silent crisis unfolding in the Himalayas, where the absence of snow is sounding a loud warning for the future.
Winter snowfall across the Himalayas is falling sharply, and the decline is no longer isolated or seasonal. Across vast stretches of India, Nepal and Pakistan, the mountains are receiving far less snow than they once did. Scientists link the trend to rising temperatures, weakening weather systems, and the accelerating impact of climate change. Data paints a stark picture as winters over the past 5 years have recorded snowfall well below the long-term average that was measured between the year 1980 and 2020. Experts warn the situation is already reshaping water availability and raising disaster risks. And threatening the livelihoods of hundreds of millions who depend on Himalayan rivers. India's meteorological department has recorded almost no precipitation, rain, or snowfall across large parts of northern India in December 2025, and the outlook is grim. Forecasts suggest that regions like Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, and Ladakh could face up to 86% below normal precipitation between January and March this year. But the snowfall total only tell one part of the story. Another critical indicator is snow persistence, which means how long snow stays on the ground before melting. The International Center for Integrated Mountain Development reports tell snow persistence in Hindu Kush Himalaya was recorded at 23.6%, which is below normal. In 2025, the snow persistence in Ganga Basin witnessed 24.1% below normal, the lowest in the past 23 years, as compared to 30.2% in 2015, which was above normal. Less snowfall is sounding alarm bells, and the consequences stretch far beyond the changing face of the mountains. International Center for Integrated Mountain Development estimates that snowmelt contributes nearly 1/4 of the annual runoff in 12 major river basins, supporting water security for almost 2 billion people. As snowfall declines and temperatures rise, even the snow that does fall melts faster. This has led to scientists issuing warnings of upcoming cascading impacts, triggering water shortages, higher natural disaster risks, including greater wildfire risk. Accelerated glacier melt is already a major threat. Now, declining winter snowfall is compounding that danger. So what exactly is driving this shift? Meteorologists point to weakening westerly disturbances, the low-pressure systems that travel from the Mediterranean and bring winter rain and snow to northern India, Pakistan, and Nepal. With shrinking glaciers and steadily declining snowfall at the same time, now the experts has warned of double trouble. What worries researchers most is the pace of change. Once rare, snow droughts are now becoming increasingly frequent. Record low snow persistence is no longer an exception. It's becoming the norm. Research is still ongoing. But the warnings from the mountains is already loud and clear. As the Himalayas lose their glaciers, they are also shedding their winter snow, which is the lifeline of the region, a shift that could redefine water security, disaster risk, and ecological balance across South Asia for decades to come.
And finally, Greenland may look like a frozen wasteland, But beneath its ice lies one of the most geopolitically and climatically significant regions on Earth. As the Arctic warms nearly 4 times faster than the rest of the planet, Greenland's melting ice is exposing vast mineral wealth critical for clean energy and reviving old power struggles. US President Donald Trump has reignited controversy by openly eyeing control of this semi-autonomous Danish territory, citing its strategic and economic value. But this isn't just about politics or minerals. It's about a planet warming out of control, the race for resources, and the high cost of repeating past mistakes. As the ice retreats, the question becomes clearer. Will Greenland be exploited in the name of power or protected as a front line of the climate crisis?
Greenland has always captured the imagination of explorers, empires, and scientists. From Viking settlements 1,000 years ago to Allied military bases during World War II, the world's largest island has long been valued for its strategic position. But today, Greenland is drawing attention for a very different reason: what lies beneath its ice. On many world maps, Greenland appears vast, almost as large as Africa. That illusion is created by the widely used Mercator projection, which dramatically stretches land masses closer to the poles. In reality, Greenland covers about 2 million square kilometers, roughly the same size as the Democratic Republic of Congo. As climate change accelerates, Greenland's ice sheet is melting at an unprecedented rate, losing an estimated 30 million tons of ice every hour. Arctic temperatures are rising nearly 4 times faster than the global average, making Greenland one of the most visible warning signs of the climate crisis. That melting ice is revealing rocks rich in critical minerals, including rare earth elements essential for electric vehicles, wind turbines, solar panels, and battery storage. Greenland is believed to contain 25 of the more than 30 raw materials classified as critical by the European Union. Among them are high-value metals such as gold, zinc, and iron, along with suspected reserves of oil and natural gas. And that is why Greenland has become a focal point of international interest once again.
Everyone talked about the rare earths again, and that doesn't mean they are the most feasible to be extracted, but everyone knows they're used in permanent magnets, so they go in windmills or electric cars and whatnot. Also screens for mobile phones or computers, TVs, whatnot. That's just rare earths, but I mean, half the periodic table can be found in Greenland, so.
US President Donald Trump's renewed remarks about taking control of Greenland have sparked outrage across Europe.
Look, if we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will, and I'm not letting that happen. If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland, and I am not going to let that happen.
Is there any deal they can offer you?
Yeah, sure, I'd love to make a deal with them. It's easier. But one way or the other, we're going to have Greenland.
Denmark has firmly rejected the idea, warning that any attempt to seize the territory would threaten NATO unity. While the rhetoric is dramatic, it underscores a deeper reality. As the climate crisis reshapes the Arctic, global competition is intensifying. But extracting Greenland's resources is far from simple. Mining projects here would take decades, billions of dollars, and enormous logistical coordination. And then there are environmental costs. Greenland has already lived through the consequences of poorly regulated mining. Legacy mines left behind heavy metal pollution that still affects rivers, coastal waters, fish stocks, and wildlife more than 50 years later. In an Arctic environment, recovery is painfully slow. Damage done today could last generations.
So the main challenges are, of course, the remoteness. So even in the south where it's populated, there's basically a few roads and no railways, and so any mining venture would have to create these accessibilities, also generate power locally. And also, it's a very important matter is manpower. So Greenland has not been traditionally very mining country, so there's no skills. So people would have to be trained or brought from somewhere else.
This is why Greenland's own government has taken a cautious approach. In 2021, it passed strict laws limiting uranium levels in mined materials, effectively halting one major rare earth project. For many Greenlanders, the land is not just a resource, it is a shared inheritance. No one privately owns it, and everyone depends on it for fishing, hunting, and survival. There is also a climate contradiction at play. While melting ice could make mining easier and shipping routes more accessible, the same warming threatens global sea levels, disrupts ocean currents, and accelerates ecological collapse. Mining critical minerals to fight climate change, while damaging one of the planet's most fragile ecosystems, raises difficult questions. As the Arctic opens up, Greenland stands at a crossroads. It can become a symbol of unchecked exploitation in a warming world, or a model for responsible climate action.
That's it on Planet Pulse today. We will see you again next week. Thanks for watching.
The world doesn't fit in boxes, so why should your news? From battlefields to negotiation tables, from internet outrage to real-world injustice. The conversations everyone is having and the ones they're avoiding. It's the same show, but this new year, Firstpost America gets a new look. I'm Kerry Johnston, and this is Firstpost America.